Hi,
Hello.
everybody. Hello. Welcome to the 35th episode of the VoiceIt show. I am your host, Funky Almedina, and that is my co host, Kanak. Hi, Kanak.
Uh, Hi there, Funky.
Look at that. Look at
Oh,
that.
this is cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I love that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hi, everybody. We have to thank you all for all the
So nice
support
to see
you've
you
been
all.
giving us, since the very beginning, for tuning in today and all the other times. We truly appreciate that. So, thank you. Um, we are
Yeah.
really excited for today's episode because we're having an amazing guest on. But before we introduce
Mhm.
him, we have to give a special shout out to our amazing patrons.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for your tremendous support. Andrews Lindholm, Shelley O'Neill, Adam Gorak, Chris Vickery, and Lori D. Sandrell. You guys are truly amazing. Thank you for your support for the Voice It Share. Always, you guys
Yes,
are truly amazing.
thank you.
And thank you,
So,
everyone.
yeah, so I think it's time for us to introduce our guest. Um,
Let's go.
yeah, we are stoked to have with us today an award-winning guitarist, kick-ass vocalist, songwriter of the Revenant Ones, and the award-winning band Catfish, Mr. Matt Long. Matt's playing style can be explained as a guitar wizardry, and it is certainly a huge influence on anyone watching or listening. Matt's band Catfish's first album called So Many Records and their second album, Burning Bridges, reached number one in the IBBA Airplay charts. And Burning Bridges was even nominated for a UK Blues Award and was named Album of the Year for IBBA.
True. And when the world was shut down in 2020 due to the pandemic, these guys went on to record their third album. And that album was called Exile Live in Lockdown and was released in December 2020. In 2021, Catfish had nominations in five categories for the UK Blues Awards 2021, and Matt Long won the Instrumentalist of the Year award for the second consecutive year. This award was virtually presented to him by the legendary Joe Bonamassa. His other band, Matt Long and the Revenant Ones, is set to release their debut album, the other side, in July of this year. And it's an absolute honor to be joined by such phenomenal personality. So, without any further ado, let's welcome Matt Long. Woo!
I'm like,
Welcome.
hey, I'm on the internet. Look at me.
Yay!
Hey. God, it's live. Oh, live and everything. Wow.
Feels so good.
Yeah.
Feels so good.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Voice It Show, man.
Well,
How
thank
are you?
I'm
How's
doing
it
great.
going?
I'm doing really good. Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward to this, chatting to you guys. Let's do it.
Thank you.
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
Let's do it. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. And first thing first, congratulations to you on the award. It was such a phenomenal thing. And
Thank you.
even the ceremony was so awesome to experience and witness live from, the comfort of our homes. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to address at the very beginning the performance that stole everyone's soul, the ethereal. That's such a
Yeah.
soulful song, and your tone on it is so magical. But before I go to ethereal, please tell us, how do you feel, holding the award and, receiving it from Joe?
Yeah. it's um it's just one of those things that you don't forget. I'm never gonna forget that moment. It's just like I know obviously
True.
it's all virtual. It was all online and things like that. It wasn't quite the big grandeur of a if we were doing it in person. But I don't think it
Mhm.
would have happened if it wasn't because of that. So in a weird way, all this COVID thing, in a weird way, that made this possible. So it's kind of like a
True.
weird bittersweet lining in
Yeah.
there somewhere. But yeah, honestly, Joe is one of my biggest heroes of all time, and I'm just you know astounded by his guitar playing. Always been influenced by it, and I've met him several times as well. And he's such a lovely guy.
Wow.
He's just a
True.
nerd. He's just a straight up nerd when it comes to like guitar stuff and things like that. And he's willing to talk to anyone and everyone about it, and just it's great. But he's also just
Total freak.
really smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He
Right.
just doesn't take himself too seriously, which is
Yeah,
wonderful to see. But yeah, to get it from him, honestly, that meant so much to me, and I'll never let that go.
that's
True.
beautiful. Yeah.
Awesome. And you know, the tone on Ethereal, it's such a magical tone. I remember when I was watching it and texting back and forth with my friends who are right now in the audience and
Oh,
commenting.
great,
So,
awesome.
uh, you know, and everyone was like, "That is such a magical tone. That is such a phenomenal tone."
Oh,
So
thank
I
you.
want to ask you is how did you develop your tone? Because I know it's not just what equipment you use; it's more of an internal thing as well.
Yeah,
So
it's a marriage of both, really. Like,
yeah,
I always, I respect the saying "tone is all in the fingers," like because that is true.
right,
Um,
right,
it definitely is true. But with that being said, it's one of the things I look forward to is hearing someone else play through my gear, because that,
hmm
to me, it just shows me that I've got some good gear. If they're making it sound good, I'm just like, yeah.
true,
But it definitely is. It's down to just the way I learned. Really, like there's many ways of learning how to play music, and the way I did it was through my ears and just listening to music. I think a lot of people call it the old
right,
school method of like uh, listening to music and trying to replicate things on there like that, and that way you develop your ear
right,
a lot. And I
right,
think, whereas I know some friends of mine, they learn through reading, they learn through theory, so they're very knowledgeable with that kind of thing. But I think
hmm
there's pros and cons to both ways, and I think with learning through your ear, you do develop a natural sense of tone, and
yes,
you get like more your pitch better as well, like pitching notes and things like that. Whereas people who
right,
learn through theory, they'll obviously be very knowledgeable and they'll be able to tell tell you how to play
true,
things, and they'll be able to do all the modes and scales and things like that, which
right,
I know a little bit of, but I never like centered myself around them. I always wanted to try and keep it towards my ear, whilst also having a little bit of
yes,
knowledge, just enough to get me by on those kind of things. But I'm not one for like reading staves or
Yeah.
like things like that. I'm just like, to me, that's like reading hieroglyphics, and I'm sound of an elf.
Yeah,
That's so,
I feel
so
that.
yeah. So it definitely is just a way of how people learn and how people have kind of gone through life and adapted their playing style to their own needs, if you know what I mean.
Hmm.
yes,
So I think that's what's
yeah,
magical about it for me, because everyone's different. So
Yeah.
like
true,
you can, like I said, hear one person play through your amp and then hear another person play through the same stuff. It's going to sound different.
yes,
But that being said, I do have a lot
definitely.
of gear as well, and
Yeah.
you know, if there's ever like a pedal that's just a sound better pedal, I'll definitely buy that and put it on my board. But
Yes,
yeah, I always it's you want to keep it a bit balanced between the two, really.
Hmm.
true, true. Which brings me to you have just spent £6 on something. Would you like to show us
Yeah,
that?
I did. Best £6 I ever spent, and I never thought it would work, but it did. Because over
Yeah.
lockdown, I haven't been playing as much. I've been bad. I haven't been practicing. I've been a bad boy with that kind of thing.
hmm
And I've got a few things coming up. Like I've got a few gigs coming in. I've got a thing tomorrow
Yes.
for some recording. So I wanted to kind of get
Wow.
something to help warm my fingers back up again really quickly. Obviously playing helps, but another thing that helps is this squeezy thing. You know, I've seen people who just start out playing guitar using these things, and I'm like, I don't really know what
Yeah.
that's going to do. Like, you should really just practice how to play as well, learn your technique and stuff like that. But boy, was I wrong, because this really does
Yeah.
work. It's like a workout. It's working out your
Workout,
fingers,
right.
and yeah, it makes you more dexterous with that kind of thing. So actually, this will be coming on the road with me everywhere I go from now on. So I'm very happy
Yeah.
with that £6
New
purchase.
new tour, buddy.
Exactly. It fits right in your pocket or in your hand. Just keep it in your hand all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. And do you think it could work for bass players as well?
I think so. I think to be honest, most musicians that will probably do
Yeah.
at least some kind of good. Like I said, it's just like exercising your hands. So like
Mm-hmm.
whether you're a
Yeah.
bass player or whether you're a keyboard player and you're having to stretch your hands out like that. I think you want to have big, muscly fingers is always good for that. Or even a drummer gripping the sticks. For me, whenever I've played drums, the hardest thing to do is actually keep hold of the freaking sticks.
Yeah.
So I think that for me would help out with that. But yeah, no, I think it's generally. You got a picture of me drumming.
Yeah.
Obviously.
That's like the one picture of me drumming ever. That was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, we got
You
a lot
got
of
it.
pictures. Yeah.
Oh, that tickled me. That one. That was good. That was a surprise.
Yeah.
Let me clarify.
Awesome.
Let me clarify. I am not a drummer in any way, shape, or form. I cannot play drums. I can keep time just about. That's about it. Don't hire me for your
Okay.
sessions. it's tricky.
Sure.
Oh, sure. It's all fun.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so let me take you back. When did you pick up the guitar, and when did your guitar journey begin?
Well, I actually started out, funnily enough, on piano. You thought I was going to say
Wow.
drums. You thought I was going to say drums, didn't you? I didn't start on drums.
Actually,
Maybe.
Yeah. No, I started out on piano when I was about
wow.
I guess about 5 years old. Because my dad is a piano player. He's a guitar player as well, but he actually started out as
Yeah.
we had like the opposite starts. He started out as a guitar player. I started out as a keyboard player, and then we just swapped.
Wow. Yeah.
And there he is. Oh man, you're killing me. You're killing me. I love how there's so many pictures of us on stage looking all cool and sexy, but nope, you find my goofy graduation ceremony pictures and him doing the maca. It's great.
Gosh,
That's fantastic. I love that.
thank
Yeah,
you.
so I started out about 5, and then I wasn't really getting on with it. I loved the piano, but I just never could play it very well. I wasn't quite, I don't know, adept at playing it. And I tried practicing. I tried as hard as I could, and maybe I could try it again now that I'm more mature at it. I don't know. But yeah, I'd always had a guitar lying around the house, and the guitar
Wow.
was like a Spanish acoustic, like nylon string. It was missing tuning pegs.
Flamenco that.
It was
Yeah.
missing strings. It was broken. It was unplayable, basically. But I found a way of
Oh.
making noise on it, and I just had a whole bunch of fun just literally whacking it and making some noise. So I asked my mum
Sure.
and dad when I was kind of not feeling the piano. I asked them whether I could switch over to guitar, and they said absolutely, which I'm obviously very grateful
Wow.
for. And
Yeah.
I instantly got on with it so much more, and it felt more natural to me to play the guitar for music. So yeah, that was when I was about
True.
6 years old, and then ever
Wow.
since then I haven't really stopped. In fact, I have my first guitar is like it's actually out of shop, but yeah, I still got my first
We'd like
guitar
to
lined
see
up
it.
over there. Yeah, I'll grab it for you.
Sure. I just put you full screen.
Yeah, that cable is long.
Yeah, it's a good thing too.
Awesome. Yeah, actually,
But yeah,
it's the first guitar of Matt.
this is the
ladies and
first
gentlemen.
guitar I ever received, apart from that nylon string, which has unfortunately
Yeah.
wound up in the dump because it was.
Oh.
I would have kept it, but I don't know. It was time to let it go. But this is
Yeah.
the first one I ever got, and I recently restrung it, and I was like, man, this actually could be a good guitar, because when I remember first having it, it didn't want to work properly.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. I think this was brand new. When this was bought brand new, I think it cost about 50 pounds, 40 pounds, something like that.
Wow.
Ridiculously cheap
Yeah.
for a guitar.
Wow. Yeah.
Like
True,
too cheap,
true.
like dangerously too cheap. So it's like, all the bits are wobbling on it, and just it sounds a bit strange, but I don't know. It looks pretty.
What model is it?
Yeah.
Is it a Fender? Is it?
No, it's a thing called a Wesley guitar, which
Okay.
I believe they are now out of business because they kept ripping off other people's guitars, essentially.
Oh.
But they might still be wrong.
Cool.
I might be wrong, but yeah, no, it's
Cool, but
it's a fun guitar.
Yeah.
It's essentially, it does not stay in tune, and the pickups every now and again it just turns itself off because the pickups don't want to work.
Oh.
Oh, hang on, my chair's breaking. Hang on. There we go. I'm sorry, slinking low and low. But I love it. I'm never going to get rid of this thing because it's like it's
actually,
the first one.
first guitar is your first guitar. It just has a special place.
It does,
Yeah.
It absolutely does, and it's not something that I could ever bring myself to get rid of. You know, it's one of those things.
True.
Like, then again, I've never really gotten rid of many guitars. I call myself more of a guitar hoarder than a guitar collector, which is,
Ah,
you know, guitar collectors have things that they're proud of. I have things I'm not
true.
proud of that I've kept. Some things, you know,
Awesome.
there's like all the ones on here I'm very, very proud of, and they are my most beloved guitars and things like that, including this one. I
Yeah.
love this guitar. Some of them I bought off eBay for even less than this, and I don't think
Wow.
I've ever played it for a live show, and I don't think I ever will. Things like that. I was like, no, I'm not going to play this, but I'm not going to get rid of them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get rid of them.
Yeah.
It's just a weird thing.
Totally.
But yeah, no, I think it's definitely a
They're just your
gear addiction
babies.
syndrome. Exactly. You know, they're just pretty things to look at at the end of the day. Whether you play them or not, they're just good to look at.
True. So good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, was it
True. Yeah,
always your
definitely.
childhood? Yeah, I'm gonna ask you. Was it your always childhood dream to become a musician, or did you want to be something else?
I always wanted to be a creative of some kind.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I started out on music. Like my dad introduced me to like blues music at an early
Yeah.
at an early age, and yeah, I really enjoyed music, but I also really enjoyed acting.
Oh.
I wanted to you know, maybe be an actor
Wow.
someday, things like that, and I still wouldn't mind if I was, but obviously I think I'm more adept at music. Acting was definitely more of a hobby, whereas this I actually
Mhm.
made it
Mhm.
into a career.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I could, you know, it could be fun. I've always said I actually had a thing recently where I was like, I could happily join a drama club again and just do
Yeah.
some like amateur dramatics,
Wow.
things like that. It'd be really fun,
Yeah.
literally just for fun. I'm not looking for anything. I just want a bit of like, you know, acting fun, and yeah, and
Right.
I could kind of do a bit of art as a kid, but not really. I could draw
Yeah.
Garfield. I could draw Garfield the cat, and that was about it.
Yeah. Well, that's
Um,
something.
and still to this day, that's the only thing I know how to draw. So
Oh.
A guitar player who can act is a lot better than an actor who can play guitar.
yeah, but it helps
Awesome.
with the stage presence certainly. Like
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
you know it became easier because I was more used to the stage through
Mhm.
both music and acting. I think they kind of benefits to each other a lot of that kind of
True.
time. But yeah, it's you know all applicable
They complement
styles.
each other. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So, what were your musical influences then as growing up? What would you listen to?
Well, like I said, my dad introduced me to a lot of blues music from
Okay.
when I was about the same age, when I was about 5, maybe 6. They kind of got me
Hmm.
into a lot of the more guitar-based kind of music, and it's kind of progressed from there, really. Uh,
Wow. Yeah.
you know, I listened to stuff like BB King, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Gary Moore, uh,
Ah,
Nice.
Buddy Guy, Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, all the kind of big
Yeah.
guys
All
like
the
that.
best
biggie.
ones.
Jimi Hendrix, just yeah,
Yeah.
things you know, all the kind of obvious ones for blues, really.
Mhm.
Like if you want to introduce someone to blues music, you show them those kind of guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then it kind of progressed as I got older into heavier kinds of music. It got into rock music
Mm.
through bands like AC/DC and Thin Lizzy, just
Yes.
lots of guys like that. And then it
Exactly.
progressed from there into heavier things from there to heavy rock and heavy metal to
Yeah.
you know to nowadays where it's pretty much
Awesome.
anything. You know, like
Yeah.
I always say there's no such thing as a I always say there's something in every genre that everyone's gonna like, even if it's just one thing, and you just have
Yeah.
to go and find it. So like
So true.
it's
So true.
exactly I grew up thinking that I didn't like country, and
Ah,
the second I listened to some country, I was like, actually, this is I love country. You know, it's a fantastic kind of music. In fact, I think someone just asked if I have any country
Yeah.
influences.
yes.
Chris Stapleton is one of my favorite artists of all time. I think he's one of the best
True.
songwriters I've ever
Wow.
heard. And you know,
Mhm.
whenever I do acoustic sets, I cover a few of his songs because I just love the songs so much. They're really beautifully written, and
Mhm.
Yes.
yeah, no, I really do enjoy his stuff. But yeah, I will listen to anything and everything really, and I will
That's
try and find
true.
something I enjoy in it. You know, like there's a lot of modern music that I like as well. Like a lot of the blues people that I know go, "Oh, pop music is rubbish. There's nothing good in there." And I'm like, "There is. You just got to look for it. It
Yeah.
might not be number one, two, and three,
Exactly.
Hmm.
but you just have to keep looking for it." And I think there's some fantastic stuff coming out nowadays. There's also some rubbish, but then again, there's been rubbish all the time. So
Yeah.
just because it's
Very
older,
true.
doesn't mean it's not still rubbish. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but you know what I mean. I think
Beautiful.
it's easy for people to say, "Oh, it was better back in my day," but I'm like, there were still questionable things back then for music wise, and
True.
I think nowadays it's
Yeah.
just the same. It's the same kind of basic thing, just different genres, really.
Yes.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, tell me, what is something about you that not many people know, but you wish they would?
Ooh, I don't know about that. I'm a bit of a nerd. I'm a bit of a nerd. I like being a nerd, and being a nerd is awesome. And I enjoy things
Totally
like
awesome.
I enjoy things like the Marvel franchise. I enjoy video games. And
Wow.
recently, over lockdown, with my friends, I've been playing a lot of D&D, like Dungeons and Dragons,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
and it's so much fun. It's so much fun, and yeah, honestly,
Wow.
that's been like one of the best parts about being, if we had to be locked inside, at least we got like, Zoom and Facebook,
Yeah.
all that kind of thing to keep in
Yes.
touch
True.
and do all these kind of things with us. And
Mm-hmm.
that's honestly been one of the favorite things about this is playing Dungeons and Dragons with my friends.
Yeah. It's a
So
nice
yeah,
thing to do.
it's not uncool to be a nerd. It never was and it never will be. So if you're a
There you
nerd,
go.
good on you.
There you
Nerds
go.
are totally awesome.
That's
Yes, they are.
sane. That's sane to Matt Long for you guys. Awesome. So now I want to talk to you about Matt Long and the Revenant Ones
Yes.
and your upcoming album,
Hmm.
which, by the way, the music video for Feel Like a Saint was very recently released, and
Yeah.
it's actually a few days ago, and it is badass, kick-ass. Folks, after this, you want to go and check out the video. The link is
Yeah.
in the description of this video. So go ahead and watch it. So tell us how that song came and what is the inspiration for the upcoming album, The Other Side.
Well, that song came from, I guess, it comes from dealing with yourself a lot of the time. Like you kind of have to every now and again
Hmm.
not justify your actions and kind of know when you're kind of not doing things the best way. Um,
Mm,
so like feel like a saint is like the term is like for me it's like I think I'm doing the right thing in my mind,
true.
and I think I'm justified in doing so. But there you go, me with Prince. Um, and yeah, no, I think it's definitely a metaphorical kind of thing. With that, a lot of my
True.
songs have that metaphorical kind of thing going for them a lot of the time, and yeah, it's interesting doing that because then when you write these songs, you kind of look at yourself and be like, oh yeah, actually you are kind of you're not doing this, that, and the other right, and you should probably change your ways a little bit.
Yes.
And this kind of song was about the other side of that, where I was like, I'm doing everything the wrong way. I'm eating unhealthily. I'm doing all the wrong things, but I don't care. No one tells me what to do. Grumpy and everything like
True.
that.
True.
So I think there's a lot of. I have a few of those songs where it's like, uh,
Uh-huh.
where it's like I'm kind of not wanting to be exploited or not lying down and taking other people's stuff. It's like I have a few songs like
Right.
that, and I think this kind of falls into that vein.
Cool.
Um,
Cool.
and it's interesting doing that because I think other people feel the same way sometimes. I like writing songs that people can relate to. Essentially,
Definitely.
Yeah.
it's interesting when someone comes up to you after a show and says, "I really connected with this song for this reason." And I'm just like, "That's awesome because I have this reason for it," and just like having like nice dialogue with
Truly.
people about it. Yeah, and then the album, it came about when the concept for The Other Side, which is what the album's called, came
Hmm.
from me doing a lot of the blues stuff, which I love doing. I love doing all the blues stuff, the blues rock stuff with Catfish.
Yes.
And
Yes.
but before Catfish, I was in blues bands and rock bands. I was doing a lot of the rock stuff as well. at the same time.
Wow.
So I had like two different outlets for both areas that I like to play.
Yes.
And then they all kind of fell apart at the same time, which is actually how Catfish started. Was I went up to my dad and was like, "Do you want to start something for a bit of fun, make some money, play in
Right.
pubs, just playing covers? Really, it was a covers band." And then it grew from there once we started recording stuff because everyone really enjoyed it, and then we suddenly became an actual band and we started writing original music.
True.
With the first album, with the second album, which is Broken Man, which then went on to Burning Bridges. Now, so we're now more of an originals band with that kind of thing.
Right.
So it came about when I was doing. I've been doing Catfish for about coming up to 7 years now. Actually, come August, it'll be 7 years.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. It just dawned on me. I was like, the second I said it was like 7 years. 7 years.
Yeah.
And I love every
10
single second.
years, literally.
It's just it's been a big part of my life. And yeah, so I've been doing that for 7 years, but I've been doing that for 7 years without really having an outlet for the heavier side of things. I did have a few bands. I was still in college at the time. I did have another band that did that then,
Right.
but they're all really busy with other things as well, and I was busy with Catfish and obviously college work as well, so we couldn't really, go to the best of our
Right.
abilities with the band, which is a shame because it was a really fun band to play in. But yeah, so I didn't really have an outlet for the heavier side of things. So
Yeah.
I started up a solo project, which originally it was going to be like me and then a bunch of other session musicians who I had paid to do the gigs.
Oh, wow.
Whoever could do them. So it wasn't going to be like a set band necessarily. It was just going to be like an originals band for me.
Okay.
So I basically wrote a huge list of drummers and bass players and all kinds of other people who I would ask to play in this band if they were free, and I needed to find a musician for that time. And the first two people I wrote down on that list was Adam Pike, who's my friend from college, who I've been in a bunch of bands with, and he's also in Catfish.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Kev Hickman, there you go, in the background, who was he was a drummer in a band that Catfish actually supported years before this whole thing came about. And I remember thinking he was such a great player, and I was like, wow, if I could ever be in a band with him, even for a little while, it would be fantastic, because he's such a great player and such a lovely guy. And here we are, however many years later, and I'm in two bands with him. So I'm very lucky, very lucky. And the second we got into a room together, and we did a rehearsal for a couple of gigs that we had lined up for the Matt Long band at the time.
Yeah.
At
the time.
Yeah, it felt really, really good. Those three together, us three together, it was just really good. And it kind of planted the seed of actually this could be a proper band rather than just the Matt Long vanity project kind of thing.
Wow.
So as time went on, I think the others kind of agreed, and they were up for it as well. They actually wanted to be in the band properly full time, and I was very happy with that, because then the second we decided to be Matt Long and the Revenant Ones as more of a proper band, it felt way more natural to everyone involved, and it felt more like a team, team kind of thing and family thing. So I'm so happy it came out like that. I really am. So it's not the Matt Long vanity project anymore, which is kind of fun. I still do like the writing for the songs. The other guys pitch in a few things here and there, but it is mainly myself doing the writing. So it is still kind of in essence a solo thing. Yeah. With regards to the material, but the actual band itself is a full original band, and it's I wouldn't have it any other way. I really wouldn't. And I wouldn't have thought that being the solo project would have worked out anyway. When I had these guys there, I'm just like, yeah, this is a proper band, and it was always going to be.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you guys sound badass, like literally. Truly awesome.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful sound, beautiful band. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
no, I went full into the heavy side of things. When I was like, there's no holds barred kind of thing.
It's really nice, and people get to know many flavors of your playing as well, because the Revenant Ones, Matt Long and the Revenant Ones, is on the heavier side, whereas Catfish falls on the blue side. So it's it's really awesome that people explore a lot of your playing style as well. So
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting.
Well, it keeps it interesting for me as
So
well. I think it's
yeah.
I would always want to do both. I would never want to do just one or the other, which I think was how the Revenant Ones came about. Was like I said through that
Hmm.
story of how it came about.
Yes,
Um,
true.
so actually, I never said the reference to the other side was the fact that this is the other side of my musical psyche. So like the blues rock stuff,
Ah,
and then
Yeah.
this is the other side, which is the heavy rock stuff. So that's
there
kind
we
of where that
go.
came about. I knew I've forgotten something, but yeah.
It'll
So
come. It'll come.
but yeah, exactly. I always want to keep it, as broad as I can. Like I like to listen to everything. Like I said before, and I'm like, I don't know, if I wanted to start up a country band at one point, might well go and do that.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't fit into the Revenant
Yeah,
Ones. But it wouldn't fit into the
Yeah.
Revenant Ones, and it wouldn't fit into Catfish. Maybe it might fit into
Hmm.
Catfish, but I don't know.
true.
But yeah, so I'd always want to kind of
Something
keep it
different.
exactly. I think both bands have their sound, and I think I want to
Yes,
keep that the way it is, and anything else will kind of go around the other sides of it. But yeah, no, it's
definitely.
more to keep it interesting for me as well as everyone else. Different things.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's awesome. It's really awesome.
Thank you.
And moving on with this, with the same question, you guys are also going to tour with the other side, right? You're going to take it on the road
Yes,
uh,
indeed. Yeah. No,
in
that was.
June and July.
Yeah, well, actually, pretty much, we got dates up until the end of the year with the Revenant Ones. It's a bit spread out,
Uh-huh.
obviously. It's yeah, we go. The tour dates are on the screen now, and it's obviously going forward. We got to be COVID safe, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, vaccines are coming out, so it might be a bit easier. But even so, we still got to be mindful of everything. But yeah, that tour was the main reason why the album was postponed for such a long time, was because we didn't want to just
Hmm.
release the album and then not tour it.
Yeah.
Because I thrive off being in live bands, rather than being an online band and things like that. As much as these online collaborations and
Mm.
all that kind of thing has been fun, it's definitely more um, a placebo for now,
Yes,
rather than a replacement for live kind of things. Which I think everyone understands that. But yeah, so obviously I wasn't expecting it to be a whole
definitely.
year. I wasn't expecting it to be a whole year until we released this and I was able to do the
Yeah.
tour. I was expecting a few months at the most.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Everybody
it's
was.
definitely been a long
Actually,
time, and I feel bad because there's a lot of people who had like pre-ordered the album back when it was about
Yeah.
to be released, and I was like, do you mind waiting until all this is
yeah.
over? It'll probably be a couple of months. It'll be fine. It'll be a couple of months. So luckily we didn't have a single person go, no, I want my album, my money back. So
Yeah.
that was really nice to see, and
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
we did offer when it got to like 6 months. I was like, okay, obviously if you want your money back, that's totally fine, fair enough. But literally no one did, I don't think. So
Yeah.
that
That's
was nice to
good.
see. Yeah. So, but yes, we do have a
True.
few dates coming out, and you can find them all on our website and Facebook page, all that kind of stuff. We're kind of
Yes,
going all over the
definitely.
UK, all over the UK as best we can, and like I said, trying to be safe while we're doing it. And yes, with an album to actually buy a physical album, after all this
Yeah.
time,
It feels
Yeah.
so good.
because they've been
Feels like
sitting in that room for a year, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah. Finally.
you know,
yeah,
we truly enjoy this moment when an artist speaks of the album or when they're going to go out and perform live. We just sit back and look at their face because their excitement speaks so much more than their words. It
yeah,
feels
yeah.
really awesome. It
Being
really
cooped up for a
feels
year,
awesome.
yeah, being cooped up for a year would be bad for anyone, especially, but
Yeah.
musicians especially, because we
And
were the first ones to go and we'll be the last ones to come back. We're like, we got
true.
gigs, yeah, gigs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, how 2019 of us, you know?
2019 of us.
Mm.
Awesome. Cool. So cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Go
I want
ahead,
to talk to you about actually being on stage. So as we
Mm.
already know, you are in four bands, which are Catfish, Matt Long and the Revenant Ones, the Rough House Trio, and
Yeah,
Seven Smith. So
yeah.
tell me, how do you manage being in and performing with all of these bands?
Well, the main two are definitely Catfish and
Yeah.
Matt Long and the Revenant Ones.
Revenant.
They are the they're the main ones that are active right now.
Mm-hmm.
The Rough House Trio, that's a fun band that I'm in with a few friends of mine that it kind of replaced Catfish when it wasn't a pub band anymore. Because I still
Yeah.
like playing pub gigs and playing covers and things like that. So I'm in a band with guys called Tom Holder and Greg Walton, and all we do is just play blues rock covers, playing some pubs, make some
Wow.
money, have some fun.
Yeah.
And we could go for like months without doing a gig, and then all of a sudden we'll have a gig, and we won't even need to rehearse because it's just the way that we like to do it. We like to just
Yeah,
jam.
yeah.
It's like a jam band. We jam it out and kind of play it by ear, really. And Sevensmith, that's actually the band I was in college. That's the college band I was talking about earlier,
Oh, okay.
where it was like the heavy side of things.
Yeah.
And I really, really love that band. And it's definitely a case of everyone's busy with other things. Like,
Yeah.
obviously I got my things going on, and Adam was in that band as well, and he's along with me for everything
Right.
like that.
Oh, that's nice.
And then the guitarist was off doing like West End shows and things like that, like in the pit and doing like orchestra shows, things like that, which is incredible.
Wow.
And he's making a whole bunch of money from all those kind of things. And then the drummer has gone off and started up a personal trainer business, and he's in like that kind of thing. And I would love to get back together with those guys and do at least even just a rehearsal, because they're just fun guys to hang out with.
Awesome.
But even more so, I would be more than up to do some gigs with them at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're definitely like more bands are more active than others. Certainly, I think Sevensmith hasn't really been a thing for at least since I left college, which was a few years ago now, which is a real shame. It's a real shame. And I would go back to it in a heartbeat if the word go. If everyone was like, yeah, we want to try it again, I'd be like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
But until then, we've all got other
Someday,
things
yeah.
as well. Yeah, maybe someday.
Definitely.
Yeah, maybe you should.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
But even then, like balancing out between Matt Long and the Revenant Ones and Catfish is an interesting one, because there have been a couple of times where, because we have similar members in the band, like it's basically the same band except minus one member. There have been a couple of times where I've like shown up to a gig and I'm like, right, which one are we doing? Which gig are we doing now?
Is it Catfish?
This is the blues one. This is the blues one. Yeah, I see the big old keyboards coming in. So this is the Catfish one. That's fine.
Yeah.
Catfish on
But-
you.
Yeah, that's the only time I'm like, that's becoming very helpful actually, because if we, for instance, have a whole bunch of Catfish dates on the road, but then an opportunity comes up to do a Revenant Ones gig in the same area, then we can go off and do that straight away, because it's the same members, and Paul gets to hang out, get a free ticket to our show.
Yeah.
But so it is interesting trying to balance the two, because obviously I want to keep both as busy as we can, not just for monetary reasons, but for I want to keep it going. It's what I want to do. Like I say, I like both sides of it. So it's definitely not like, that's one thing people ask me is, who's the main band? Like, who's one over the other kind of thing.
Yeah.
I always say, whenever I'm at like a Catfish gig, the Revenant Ones are the other band. When I'm at a Revenant Ones gig, Catfish are the other band.
Yeah.
Very right.
It's always definitely in the
Very
moment
right.
where it's it's a business thing. At the end of the day, it's like you can't really prioritize one thing over another. You got to kind of keep everything afloat, really.
True.
So
True.
yeah, there is no. It's like asking who's my favorite children. Well, actually, more appropriate to me, which is my favorite guitar, which is all of them,
Yeah.
even the crap ones.
Exactly.
And also another question about being on the stage, but with someone. So tell me, how was the experience of playing and sharing the stage with the legendary Paul Jones?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
That's incredible. Like, I've known Paul since as long as I can remember, because my dad used to work with him at the BBC, and he was just such a legendary guy. He is such a legendary guy. And he's kind of like a famous uncle to me in a lot of ways, where it's like, like him and my dad got on so well that they were like family, and I'm just like, yeah, it's definitely like a familial thing here. So to get up on stage with him, it felt like it had been a whole lifetime coming, if you know what I mean. And
Yes.
and also Paul had played on stage with a whole bunch of other people, including Joe Bonamassa, who's another one of my heroes.
Yeah.
At the gig, that inspired me to be a musician as well. I was like, yeah, that was
Wow.
a huge thing for me. So I'm like, this guy right here was at the gig that meant so much to me that I actually wanted to be a musician for my life. So this is a big thing for me.
True.
He's such a lovely guy and such a knowledgeable guy. And if there's ever a guy who's got
Wow.
who's got a voice for radio, it's him. You know, you just listen to him. You just listen to him talk. He could
True.
say anything to you, and you just be like, yes, I agree. You know, he's one of those guys.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I love Paul,
Blow your
and I have a lot of
socks
respect for him.
down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of respect for him. You know, and he's obviously a fantastic player, fantastic
Definitely.
singer, and you know, it was an honor to be on stage with him.
Yeah, that's amazing. He is
Awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
And since you have been on stage and you have been in recording studio as well, I want to ask, where do you feel the most comfortable, on stage or in a recording studio? And may
100%
you
on
please
stage.
describe why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 100% on stage. I actually, you know, because with it's a completely different environment. Everyone's like, oh, it's the same thing as being on the stage, just with a, you know, in the studio.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not. Because at a show, you can feed off the audience, and you know, there's a certain
Yes.
energy there that just drives you forward. In a studio, it can get very bland because it's like, you know, you just sat there with all the four other guys and the other
Yeah.
guy on, you know, a guy in the glass booth probably playing Angry Birds on his phone whilst all you guys are setting up your stuff. I'm not even kidding. There was a session we did where it was like we had just hired the room, and the guy didn't even want to be there. He was like, oh yeah, just put your stuff over there. And I'm not even kidding. He just took out his phone the whole time and just like that on it.
Wow.
What
And then
the
every time he wanted to record something,
Wow.
every time he wanted to record something, he was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Click.
And I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, because that's not a fun environment to be in.
Yeah, that sucks.
True.
But we have since then worked with great engineers in the studio. For Catfish, we've got a guy called Jake Skinner who runs Brighton Road Studios, where
Yes.
we recorded the last two albums. But we do it slightly differently, where we record the drums in the studio to get the nice live sound of the studio going, and we play along with him.
Yeah.
And maybe get the bass as well. But then we take it all back here and record the vocals, guitar, all that kind of thing. Because then we can take as much time as we need on it, which unfortunately means it takes too long. But you know,
Yes.
'cause you always want to change things and tweak
Yeah.
things here and there. So it does take a while. But I feel much better doing that than having the time constraints of being in a studio. Like, you're there for the day. You have to get everything done. Everything has to be perfect from word go.
Yes.
And I'm just like, that's so much pressure and things like that.
Yeah.
And
That
when you're in a
makes you
live-
self-conscious as well, right?
I am the
a
most
lot of
self-conscious
self-con-
musician. You know, I'm the most self-conscious musician you'll ever meet. I'll never really want to listen to anything I've recorded or watch any videos of me because I'm like, no, I don't want to hear it. Even when literally no one but me is going to notice all these things that are like wrong. So I'm just like, I don't know. But
Man.
it's I 100% prefer the stage because you make a mistake on stage, you're never going to hear it again. That's
gone.
it. Poof,
Yeah.
gone. You know, you do a mistake in a studio, it's there forever. You know, and
Yeah.
it just takes me such a long time to record things because I am a perfectionist with that kind of thing where I want it to at least sound at least somewhat near to what I have in my head. And
Yeah.
and the bare minimum is obviously playing it right. You know, that's obviously like that. So it can take me a while because even when I do I do like what other people would call a great take, I'll be like, nah, I could do it slightly better.
Yeah.
There's like one slight little went slightly out of tune on one of the notes, and I'm just like, and everyone else is like, dude, that sounds great, even with the out of tune thing. I was like, no,
No, but
can't do it.
yes,
No.
something.
Exactly, there's something wrong, and I don't want it there.
Yeah.
So
It can be a good thing and a bad thing to do all the recording yourself. With regards to that kind of thing, because then you have all the time in the world to do it, and you can get it in the way you want it to be. But then that can take too long, and you'll fret over it forever. Nothing's ever finished when you're doing it by yourself. You know, 'cause you're always you're always tweaking things. You're always tweaking things.
profound.
So actually, when we did the Revenant Ones album, I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it differently. I didn't want to do it here, at least not as much. I wanted to do it all in the studio, and I wanted to work with a guy that we hadn't worked with before, who I'd wanted to work with for a while, called Dan Lucas. Who runs a recording studio out in Kent called Anchor Baby Studios, Anchor Baby Recording Studios. and a great place to be, and he's a lovely guy. So I was like, yeah, if anyone, I'll record with him. He's gonna be great. And yeah, I did the normal way of recording things, which was going to a studio, and you have this much time. You know, you have a set amount of time to do things. So I was like, okay, it might drive me to do things a bit quicker, and you know, be a bit more open about things. You know, not sounding quite right here and there.
Yeah.
Or just experimenting a bit more, because he has like a separate opinion on everything. And it's definitely came out differently. So the proof is there that it does make a difference on how you record things. Like yes, there's a few things here and there that I would have changed if I had more time. But I'm also glad that I didn't, because I'm like, yeah, that's more straight ahead. This is kind of not natural, like, because the other stuff is natural too, but this is just, I don't know, more instinctive, I guess, you know, that kind of thing. And you know, obviously it costs more money to do it that way.
Of course.
Because obviously you have to rent multiple days rather than just a couple of days here and there. So it's been an expensive album for me to make, which is why not being able to sell it for a year and a half has got me a bit on edge.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy it's coming out. But yeah, no, it's completely different areas, like on stage to studio, and I think it's a common misconception that it is the same thing as you do live, but just in a shiny room. It's definitely not. It's a completely different area. And the thing is, it becomes with experience, because, like, you know, every musician starts out with stage fright, or more commonly they start off with stage fright. But the more you do it, the easier it'll become, because you get more used to it and things like that. And I think the same thing
it's like this.
Exactly. You get all sweaty, and you know, you wave your arms like you don't care.
But you rule the stage. You rule the stage.
But that's it, really. You get the confidence on stage, whereas you don't get as much. Well, I mean, you can do, but from my experience, I don't get as much opportunity to be in the studio than I do on stage. So I don't get the chance to kind of get the experience in there. I mean, obviously, I've been in there a few times now, and I'm certainly better off than I was. But yeah, it's definitely, it's not like because you're good on stage that means you're going to be good in the studio, because it's different. It's like a different level of experience for either thing. So
Yeah.
Totally. And that's a beautiful answer. And we can wait to listen to the other side. You know, I guess it's going to be really, really fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited just to get it out there.
Sure.
And just
I believe. Yeah. So I have to say that I relate to you when it comes to being self-conscious, because I barely ever go back and watch the previous episodes we've done. Like, only if I really have to, but like I don't want to. Like, you know, if I see I messed up, I'm like, oh hell no. Oh hell no, you know.
And it's a weird thing, because every time you say that to someone, you probably get the same thing. Everyone gets really surprised when you say that. They're like, you don't want to listen to yourself again? And like, you want to make sure it's like, no, I don't want to listen to myself again.
Absolutely not. Yeah, so
I hear it coming out of my mouth the first time. I don't want to hear it the second time.
yeah, exactly.
I totally get what you mean. It definitely is you know, it's tricky, you know. Again, it's something you have to get used to, because a lot of the time with these, especially with like podcasts and stuff like that, I imagine you would have to like go back and change a few things here and there, and at least have a look at it over here and there. So I do totally get what you mean. It could be interesting
sometimes.
And also, I have to say that we've got a lot of questions from the people who previously added the questions. So we're gonna start with these. So Jackie Cowell 2 is asking, what inspires you?
That's an interesting one, actually. Like, it's an interesting question, because it can be many things.
Yeah, like in general.
I will say I tend to write my songs from personal experience when it comes to songwriting, certainly. You know, I don't want to necessarily... I have written a few songs here and there from, like, stories that I've heard and things like that. But, yeah, so personal experience in my life, and, you know, things like going through a breakup, or losing a loved one, like, you know, unfortunate, you know, someone passing away, things like that. As morbid as they are, there is a certain energy about those kind of situations that
true.
You know, And I always like to dedicate the song to that situation. Like, for instance, if it's about a loved one passing on, that song that I write in that moment with those feelings is for that person, you know. So
Yeah.
it can be many things. Like, and then every now and again, I can watch a TV show and be like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'll write a
Yeah.
song about that. There's literally one of the songs on the Revenant Ones album is written about a Game of Thrones character.
Oh, cool.
I'm a big
Who,
Game of
who's that?
Thrones fan, and you know, a big Game of Thrones fan. Even with the last season, I thought it was okay. Everyone was harping on about that. I thought it was okay.
It was okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was,
True.
yeah. And
I am a GOD fan too, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was still a lot of fun to watch. And yeah, I based it
Venom, yeah.
off a character called the Mountain in Game of Thrones. For those who don't know, he's a
Ah,
massive, indestructible man, and just is a terrifying man essentially.
Yeah, you can
gosh.
tell by the name.
Yeah, exactly. So it's so it can be a lot of different things. So it's kind of hard to say if anything specifically does inspire me. I wish there was just a specific thing that inspired me. So then, whenever I wanted to go and write a song, I'd be like, "Oh, I'll go find this thing," and then I'll be like, "Okay, now I can write a song."
right.
Because
Nice.
a lot of the time, it does come like at random times, and sometimes it can be a long time before I write anything. Because I always want to do it naturally rather than I'm going to sit down and write a song, because I'd never really managed to get it that way. So a lot of the times song ideas come to me at 4 a.m. I'm trying to go to sleep, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
well, if I don't do it now, I'm
Yeah.
going to forget it. So I pick a guitar off the wall and try and figure it out.
Yeah,
Do you record them at that very moment?
Sorry?
Do you record them at that very moment?
Yes, I do. I get my phone recorder out and just like do like the voice memo
Cool.
things and just do like a little. Obviously, it sounds
Yeah.
terrible. It sounds crappy, but it's just to get the idea of the song.
Saves
get
the
on there.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I can sit down with it at a later time and be like, okay, I can flesh this out a bit more and
Be
figure it
more
out.
creative. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah. So I have a whole list of things on my phone that may or may not ever get used, but I'm never going to
Yeah.
delete any of them because I'll be like, it might come up for a future song. You know.
We
Yeah,
might
who
come up.
knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Many gems in there. Yeah.
Exactly. It could be. You never know. You never
Yeah.
know.
Yes.
Because like you can think of, like you could write something and then think something at the time is like, no, I don't know about that. It's not great. But
Right.
transport yourself to a couple of years' time when you're writing a song, you're like, oh, it needs a certain something.
Yeah.
Scroll through that list, and then you find that idea and like, oh, that's the perfect thing. That thing that I didn't think
Right.
was like that just slots in perfectly, you know. So never
Yeah.
throw away
Right,
any ideas.
right.
Never throw away any ideas.
Yeah. And
Beautiful
we have an amazing question from Andy Pacheco Music. He's asking, how many mats do you know?
That is a fantastic question.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to put me on the spot. I could go through my Facebook page and just like see how many I've got on Facebook.
Mats,
But I want
mats,
to do it off the top of my head. I don't know. It's tricky. It's a very common name, like over in the UK and and most other places. Oh, God. I remember when I was in school.
yeah.
I was like one of 4 mats in my class. So I think I was mat 2 or mat 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or it was by our surnames. I don't know, but yeah. So yeah, it's definitely
Right.
come up a lot in my time. But I would guess at least a good 50, maybe 40 mats. I don't know.
Yeah.
But as a guess.
Yeah, nice.
Wow.
And yeah, so now we have a small new segment called the Anders Lindholm questions.
Okay.
So Anders is asking, have you ever lost a piece of gear or an instrument you regret losing? Is it the first guitar?
I do regret losing the first guitar.
Yeah.
Even though that was never going to get played again.
Yeah.
I still have the same thing of like I would have quite liked to have kept it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I never really get rid of a lot of things. I've sold a couple of pedals, and that's usually to replace them with other pedals.
Oh man.
So I don't know really. I do have a story about one time when I was doing a gig
There you go.
and I left my guitar at the gig. We left after the gig.
Oh.
I forgot I left my guitar there. I
No
was like,
way.
and the thing is, because it was with a band that I didn't play with very much, I didn't notice for a while because that guitar was specific to that band. I was like, I didn't notice because we didn't. The next gig was like 4 months down the line, and it got to that next gig 4 months later, and I was like,
where is it?
Where's that guitar gone?
Yeah, something missing.
I was like, oh, someone's stolen it out of the car. Oh my God.
Sure.
It's been dropped off a bridge somewhere. I don't know. God. And it was a cool guitar as well. And like, someone made it for me. I was like, I'm not going to lose this. But
yeah.
I went back to that venue. I went back to that venue, and lo and behold, in a storage cupboard, there it was. It was still there.
Yeah.
And it still had like my my old sweaty T-shirt from the gig that I played in the case, so it stank a bit. But but yeah, so I was very lucky to get that back. That was a rough moment for me. And ever since then, I've done like the idiot check at the end of every gig. I'm like, have I got everything? Right. Double check you got everything. Triple check you got everything. Have you got your guitar? Yes. Are you sure? Check inside the case. Is it in there? Things like that. I'm just like,
yeah.
So it's a learning experience,
Yeah, why not? And another question from Anders is, what is your preferred weapon of choice when it comes to guitars and amps?
Tricky. Again, it's like picking between my favorite children. I would say
actually,
I have two number ones. Let's put it like that.
Sure.
So one of my number ones is this lovely thing right here.
Wow.
Try and get it in the camera without the microphone in the way, unfortunately. But yeah, PRS SC245, beautiful thing. Secondhand.
Very.
So obviously, yeah, I'm not rich enough to buy one of these new, so the secondhand one was very, very welcome. But yeah, this has come with me for ever since I've bought this thing. This has been at every gig with me, and I love it very much. The second one would be
drum roll.
Probably this one right here, which is
nice.
Which is funnily enough, it's a Joe Bonamassa signature guitar.
Nice.
Wow.
So it's a studio version. It's not like his full-on American version, but yeah. So it was slightly less expensive than a full-on one, which obviously I like. I always like that. Yeah, but I wanted a Les Paul, which is for those who don't know, this kind of guitar, which you would have seen everywhere. And it's, I wanted one, and I was like, I heard that Joe Bonamassa is making a signature guitar. Well, I'm going to buy on there. I didn't even need to play it, because I was like, I knew he was going to make a good guitar. And I was like, I ordered it online without ever playing it. And luckily, it was a fantastic guitar. So, yeah, keep it to this day.
Wow.
All these dents and green markings and stuff like that, that's all me since I had it. It was it looked beautiful when I had it.
Yeah.
And now it's all green looking.
Scars of love. Scars of love.
Well, this was my number one for, again, since I had it, this was my number one. And it kept breaking because I was using it so much, which is when I got this one, the one I showed you before, to kind of like balance it out a little bit. And then that became my other number one. So that's why I say I have two number ones.
Yeah.
But they all do different things. They all do different things. So they all do different things. So I never say one is particularly better than the other, because like, if you did like some smooth jazz, you probably don't want this guitar. Well, you could do.
Yeah.
You probably could do that. But there
that's
are
a bad boy.
That. It is a bad boy. It's a mean-looking thing, and I love it very much. Yeah. And as far as like amps and stuff like that, I think you asked about them as well. I use Mesa Boogie amps.
Yes.
I have a Mark V for a lot of the stage stuff and all the recording stuff in here. I have behind me an Express 50 Plus. Which is a great amp as well. I love Mesa stuff. I used to use Fender a lot, and I still like Fender amps. You're gonna come across Fender amps in your guitar player all the time. I love Fender amps, but I don't know. They couldn't quite do the heavy thing for me. I mean, they could have done, but Mesa stuff was a lot easier.
So when it comes to playing, do you think you could play something for us?
Could do. Wait, give me a second.
Sure.
Hey,
you don't have to go back and listen to it, but we sure will.
Yeah, exactly. This is all live, so there's all the pressure going on. It's like being in the studio.
I feel you. I feel
Being
you.
in a studio.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll play you a
Gosh.
little thing if you want. I'll play you a little short thing.
Yay!
Thank you.
There we go. I'm gonna put you full screen now. All yours.
All right. Nope, hopefully all the levels are okay and all that. But
All good.
yeah. I'll do this one for you guys because you mentioned it before and you're very, very nice about it. This is the song that I played at the UK Blues Awards ceremony, the virtual ceremony. At least a little bit of it I'll play for you guys. Yeah, this one is called Ethereal.
Thank you.
Woo! Woo!
Wow.
I had a surprise guest in the form of my dog.
Yeah, I got a little bit scared. I didn't know. I was
just
like, oh my god. The door opened. But
So I'm trying-
that was
he's-
beautiful.
Thank you very much. Thank
That
you.
That was
was-
amazing.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank
Yeah.
you very much. There was yeah, I realized halfway through that I was like, oh, might be a bit too loud here and there.
No. No, it was
No, you
perfect.
sounded
Oh, thank you very
amazing.
Thank you very
Yes.
much, guys. Thank you.
Yes.
I got a round of applause for my dog. So he's very camera shy. I'm gonna see if I can get one.
Aw. Sure.
Just a sec.
Oh, there he is.
Yay!
This is his first time live on the internet.
Aw.
Yay!
Yeah,
We're
he's
so
a bit
honored.
shy. He's a bit shy.
He's very camera shy.
Aw. I mean-
what a lovely moment. Yeah.
Yes. We do have this picture over here.
Yeah, there he is. See then he's too distracted by the duck.
Yeah.
He doesn't care if he's on camera then. He wants to be loud.
Wow.
Yeah, but thank you so much for playing that
Thank
for
you
us.
so
It
much.
was
What a
so good.
performance.
That was fun. Yeah, no, it's still kind of interesting getting used to actually just playing in your bedroom to a webcam to kind of.
Mhm.
Obviously, I know people are there, but it's like at the end of the day, I'm in here with now my dog, so that's something. That's the first time he's paid attention to me from my gigs.
Aw.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
So we
honestly,
did
it's-
have a live audience then.
I did, you can't understand what's going on, but that's fine.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
Gosh. I so have so many questions right now, but I feel after this performance, go on, man. We cannot go ahead with questions and answers. God, it was so magical.
I'm happy to keep on talking until whenever. I'm having a great time. So ask away.
Wow,
ask
thank
away
you.
if you want.
Good. Okay. So I'm going to ask you, would you like to share with us some of your funniest or scariest on or off stage memories?
Yeah. I'll preface this by saying I have a rule about on stage.
Sure.
I will so when it comes to being ill,
Uh-huh.
I will quite happily vomit on stage because then you can just go back and do your normal thing.
Sure.
When it's
Fair
the other
enough.
end, that's a big no. I will not do that on stage. So I'll preface that by saying that.
Sure.
So there was one time we were doing a gig in Germany, and it was a great gig. But beforehand, we actually went round to a friend of ours' house, and I think he was a Dutch friend, but he came over to come see us. And he had a friend who had a big barbecue around the back of his house.
Wow.
And we had a lovely time. It was a beautiful sunny day. We had a whole bunch of beer, and it was not a whole bunch of beer. We had like a reasonable amount of beer. We weren't all anything like that, and just had a lovely time, had a lovely chat. So then we went to go do the gig, and I went on stage. I felt fine before going on stage, absolutely fine. But then about midway through the set, I was like, oh, there's a little something going on. Little something going on here, and doesn't feel good. Nope, don't feel good.
No.
So I was like, I'll be fine. We've only got half a gig left. By the time the next song came around, I was kneeling over, cramped in pain, because
Oh man.
This just feels weird saying it live on the internet. I had to
Go ahead.
I had to go to the toilet rather urgently. Let's put
Yeah.
it like that. In
Understand.
the middle of playing a song, and we weren't even halfway through the song yet, and I was like, I looked over at the other guys in the band. This is a Catfish gig. I looked over to my dad, and I was like, I need to get out of here real quickly. Can you take over for a bit? So he basically, at that point, he kind of like stood up, and did a bit of like
Yeah.
crowd participation kind of thing, like singing back kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
So he kind of kept that looping going on. Meanwhile, I was sprinting off stage to get, because this is an this was an outdoor festival as well. So there's tons of people, loads of people, and I was like kind of fighting my way through.
Man.
All of whom were like, "Oh yes, I saw you on the stage. It was very good. Yes, I want to shake your hand." I'm like, "I gotta go. I'll talk to you in a minute after the show." And I got around to the portaloos, or the lovely, chemical places that, great places to be, and it was not fun. I missed the next song.
Oh man.
And I managed to get back on for the last song of the set, which was at that point, it was roughly where it was anyway. So I missed one song, so Dad kind of did like a little solo thing, or a piano duet trio thing, whilst I was dying a slow death in a toilet, which is not how I want to go. I don't want to do an Elvis and wind up on the toilet. That's not the way I want to go, So, but I got back on. I finished the gig. It was all fine from there. I basically just had to let it out, essentially. So essentially, what happened was I got a little bit of food poisoning from the barbecue. Which is obviously a common thing when you have barbecues. I love barbecues, and I'm never going to stop having them, even after that experience. But it is obviously a danger of that happening. It wasn't anything serious, but it was just enough to be like, oh, I need to take care of this. So it's obviously, it could have been a lot worse. I could have killed everyone on stage, but
man.
it's a I think unfortunately all of my kind of funny / scary / embarrassing moments on stage involve that kind of thing. So I think we'll leave it with that one.
One thing is after the whole thing, when you go back on stage, you have I'm having a good time.
Exactly. It was like that. I looked exactly like that. I was like, I don't know what the hell happened.
No idea.
Yeah, no, they're all very forgiving though. They were lovely about it, and
true.
It was fine. It was like nothing happened. So that was fantastic.
Yeah.
So cool.
So
good.
So I do have some questions, but I'm gonna ask like one more. So tell me, what advice can you pass on to your fans, your friends, and the people who are watching right now?
But before you go ahead, sorry, Matt.
Yeah, no,
before you go ahead, we want to give a big shout out to Fiona Long.
Yeah, Fiona Long.
He has been.
She just let my audience out of my room. So,
we have been corresponding with her, and she's really sweet. And so, big thanks to her. And if you're watching, hello to you, and thank you.
I'm sure she can hear me from the other room. Mom. She can probably hear us. It's the magical part about doing the kind of thing at home.
Absolutely, we love it.
I owe her so much. Like, if there's one thing I'm really kind of terrible at, it's like social media and generally being sociable. And whereas she's just great at that. She's great at getting people's attention with things like that. So she's really helped me out a lot with just generally keep on going forward. So I owe her so much, and it's fantastic. She's fantastic. So absolutely
awesome.
Yeah, she is. Big shout out.
So, with regards to
going back to Funky's question,
with regards to advice going forward is, just do the things you want to do with regards to music. Because I think a lot of people that I know are doing music, and especially like when it coming from college, like music college. I know a lot of guys who are like, yeah, I want to write original music. I want to do all that. I want to do this, that, and the other. And then I see them a couple of years later on when they're doing like function stuff, which is fine. Function stuff is perfect, and you can make a bunch of money that way. But I always say, don't lose sight of your personal music, if you know what I mean. It's very important to kind of keep that going. And it's hard, when session music over there, and like wedding gigs over there, and things like that, pay a lot of money. That's obviously a great way to go, especially if you're doing it for a career. But I know so many friends of mine who do that, and then they are very like disheartened by it, and they're like, I just, this is taking up all my time now because I have to keep doing it to make this is a job at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And they don't find the time to do the original stuff. So that's the main thing, is always try and find time to do the creative side of your music as well. All that stuff is fine. That's fantastic stuff to do. I've done a few bits here and there of that kind of thing as well. And I'm not that kind of musician. I'm not like I said, I don't really know how to read music and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm more of like the songwritery kind of thing. So I was never bred for that kind of thing. But I know some people who can do great in that area, and just it's just be yourself. With regards to your own music, obviously that stuff is fine, but just be yourself with that, and don't be afraid to take chances. Because a lot of the time, I suffer from a lot of social anxiety, which is obviously an interesting thing to deal with when you're doing gigs, when there's hundreds of thousands of people.
True.
And I always say, don't be afraid to take chances, because a lot of the time you're overthinking what the outcome is going to be. Like if you're going to say, for instance, you're going to do an audition, and you're like, I don't know, I don't want to do the audition to be in this band or be in whatever, or to do this musical thing. It's like, I don't know. Like, the worst thing that's going to come out of that is they're going to say no. That's the literally the last, the worst case scenario is they're going to say no. You move on to other things. So don't be afraid to take risks like that, and just don't. I'm almost like trying to tell this to myself in a way, because it's like I said, with the social anxiety thing, it's a tough thing to deal with.
Yeah, I feel you.
And it's interesting dealing with social anxiety in music in general, because there's so many people that you wouldn't think that they would, but they do. Like a lot of musician friends of mine have the same kind of thing, depression and anxiety and things like that. It's very common. But then you wouldn't think of it to look at them and think that. But they're there. But honestly, it literally is just taking a chance and being kind to yourself in a way, because it's like there's a lot. I'm so self-deprecating when it comes to music. Like I said before, I never listen to a lot of my stuff. I'll always pick it apart and things like that. But every now and again, I'll be like, I'll do something. And I'm like, you know what? That's actually kind of cool. And
True.
And like things like the awards, for instance, like the main thing I take out of that was people actually give a damn about what I do.
Yeah.
That was the main thing I took out of that. Like more than any like trophy, or it's not about, there's no winning or losing in that kind of situation. It's not about that. It's like a showcase of music, and like the fact that I was nominated in the first place is a huge honor.
Yeah.
And that to me just says, people actually like what I do. People actually care about what I do, and just like. And then to win it, obviously, was doubling that, tripling that even. It's just like reassurance to kind of be like, yeah, this is working out. So just don't be afraid of yourself when it comes to these things. You're always gonna be your own worst enemy when it comes to being a creative and being yourself. You're always going to be your own worst enemy. Like you're always going to pick apart things way more than anyone else is ever going to do. So just be lenient with yourself and just be yourself.
Yeah, those are some wise words. Thank you.
I have them every now and again.
And his saint mode was on. Really cool. And thank you so much. And we take those words to heart, and also wish you the very best with life and everything. And to you, a lot of love to you and your family. For everyone.
We couldn't quite hear that.
Did I just freeze?
Yes, you did.
we couldn't quite hear that. You kind of cut out a little bit there.
I probably.
Yeah.
I
got the general idea of what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, but I heard I heard a few words here and there. I was like, yourself, kind, lovely. I was like, I got the general idea of what you're saying. So thank you very much.
you got the keywords, so that's awesome. Cool.
Exactly. Yeah. So thank you. Honestly, it's a pleasure.
Sure.
Yeah, no,
Good.
it's a
Good.
pleasure talking to you guys about all these kind of things. I love chatting to people. Actually, do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions? Actually, like you guys.
Sure.
Sure.
So you guys are from Bosnia and India, which are
Yeah.
two places in the world I would love to go at some point during my
Yeah.
life.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome.
It's I love traveling and like experiencing different cultures and everything. Um, what would you say is the main difference between the music that you guys get over there culturally to,
Uh-huh.
for instance, music over in the UK or over in the US?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would you say would be like the
Sure.
main things you like pick apart between the two?
Uh, Rather than pick apart, I'd say, there are a lot of similarities. Obviously, there are the differences, with Indian music and the style of music that is,
Yeah,
the Western style of music. Uh, a lot of Indian music is focused on vocal, vocal zone, so to say,
mm.
and vocal training. And but there is a lot of similarity when it comes to harmonics and the tonality,
Yeah,
and so you could relate a lot of things. And the peacefulness of just like ethereal, that to me was like, okay, this sounds like one of my favorite, Indian classical music. So maybe I have listened to that music a lot.
yeah.
Ethereal connects to me, in a familiar way, so to say.
Oh, well, that's
So
really interesting to hear.
that's
Yeah, that's really interesting for me. I love that. That's fantastic.
so
Yeah, because like actually
so
one of the
I was like,
when I,
yeah, this.
yeah, because like one of the inspirations behind doing that song was actually like I was at the time I was in school and I was studying a bit of Indian music actually. I was studying like
Wow.
yeah, I was studying like rags and things like that. Is that the right term? Is it
Ragas, yes.
ragas? Sorry, yeah, and things
Definitely.
like that. And I was
Skills,
like, yeah,
that is.
and obviously the instrumental side of things of it. I was like, it was really interesting to me. So honestly, I think that's probably one of the influences in that song. And
And
so
I want to
yeah.
mention, there's a video you posted where you're sitting under a tree playing Kumbaya, probably on your slide guitar.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
and
yeah,
when I listened to that, that resonated in my mind the sound of veena or a sitar instrument.
yeah, yeah. I know exactly.
So
I literally watched that video the other day, and I was like, yeah, I can hear that a little
yeah,
bit, like the slight
so
Indian.
that relates to
I
me
love
in
all
that
that.
way.
Yeah, no, I love all
So
that. I think that's Indian music is such a like as a whole is a very underrated type of music
Yes.
because it's got so many different like especially from like a technical standpoint. It's like there's so many different things going on in there, and it's so interesting to kind of like dive in and just be like, what's going on here?
true.
And it's because it can be it's some of the most like interesting like tonally for me because it's like you never know quite what you're going to
Yeah,
get with that kind of thing, and it's fascinating. So yeah, well,
Yeah.
thank you very much. What about
exactly.
what about you, Funky? Like
Yeah.
Bosnian kind of music?
Well, before I answer, I have to mention that I love Indian music.
Yes.
Kind of has shared so many artists with me, and I have all of that, saved, and I listen to it a lot.
Mm,
But your question is very good, and I can't give you a good answer because I don't really listen to Bosnian music that much.
right.
It
Yeah.
at least not modern. But
Mm,
what I have to say that there is a similarity between Bosnian music and like UK and whatnot, because people well, the music that I listen to, the artists, which are like older, and
yeah.
we call it folk music. They write the
Folks, yes.
songs with like full emotion,
Mm,
heartfelt music, lyrics. And that's what I notice, the similarity and what I like about that music. But other than that, there's nothing much to say, about Bosnian music. And yeah, I don't really listen to it that
well,
much. So
that's why I asked him because I was like, I haven't really come across because obviously I really come across a lot of Bosnian music in my time, so I was kind of interested to kind of find out what it's like over there musically. Like, is there like a big scene for like traditional Bosnian music, or is it like you get like the people like singing songs in English or things like that? What's like the common thing over there?
Well, the most common thing in Bosnia, especially now, is the genre. It's all rap, which
Right.
let's say hate. I don't like
Aha.
it at all. But traditional Bosnian music, we don't have many performances
Right.
now. Not we did have them before, but not anymore. So yeah, it's mostly rap and whatnot.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, like, to be honest, the term Bosnian rap does intrigue me a lot as an English person. So I'm just like, I might have to go
Actually,
check some out, actually.
No,
actually.
listen. I prefer if you listen to some Bosnian old folk. Well, I mean, I could
Yes.
share some songs with you that I really love,
Yeah.
and I think you would like at least, the melody of it or
Oh,
whatever. If
yeah,
not,
yeah, absolutely.
you can't understand the lyrics if you don't translate them. So yeah.
No, that's exactly like why I like listening to them, because it's like I don't quite understand the language, but I can kind of hear the differences in the
Yeah.
musically kind of thing. So it's like it's really interesting for me, because like every time I go to a new country, I'm like I always try and experience a little bit of the culture and try and even learn a bit of the language here and there, at least to kind of like converse on stage with people, to kind of like be like, oh, you learned a bit of the language, things like that. So
Yes.
I always try and find out what it is like musically, is like, even if it is like traditional music from wherever it is from, just like
Oh, yes.
what
Yes.
happens essentially. So I'm very appreciative of your answer, and obviously I'd love to hear some stuff if you want to send it my way.
Yeah, I will, and
Yeah.
thank you for asking. And
Yeah.
I have to mention,
Absolutely.
as you love to travel, you're always welcome in Bosnia.
Yeah.
So whenever you want.
Same as in India.
Yes,
Always.
absolutely. Yeah. Now, honestly, two places of the world I've always wanted to go. Like, I think
Sure.
nearest I've been to Bosnia was probably the other side. So so in Italy. Honestly,
Oh,
probably the closest I've been. So I'm like, I need to go to
yeah.
the other side. I want to see all that area.
Oh, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah. No, I'd love to one day. Yeah.
Yeah, one day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Definitely. Definitely. Awesome. And so uh, we are now moving on to the end of this episode, but we still have many questions for Matt. But since taking the time into account, we're gonna stop it here. But Matt,
Uh,
uh, you know, we invite you for a part two, and would you like to join us someday again?
yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, I'm always up for this. It'll be great fun. And it was a pleasure talking
Awesome.
to you guys. It really was. So
Likewise.
Thank you.
like I always say this in a lot of like the podcasts and the interview things that I do, that
Uh-huh.
obviously because this is live you can't do this, but I always say to people, like, I know that I have a tendency to go on a lot of the time, so feel
Oh,
free to
come
edit.
on.
So feel free to edit away a lot of my crap.
No.
But obviously because it's live, I'm like,
Nothing.
there you go.
Nah, nothing.
Yeah,
This
but
is
I'm
just gonna
more than
stay.
happy to come back again. That'd be great fun. So it'll be on.
Yeah,
Sure.
we'd love to have you
Thank
on
you.
again.
Yeah, that'd
Yes,
be
we so look
awesome.
forward to. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us your time today. And
Yeah,
it really means a lot. And it has been an absolute honor to talk with you.
it's been an honor
And
talking to you guys. Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you. And everyone, please do check out Matt Long and his socials. Go follow him on Instagram, uh, Facebook, you got a page, and obviously you can visit his website, which is mattlong.net or catfishbluesband.co.uk. And
yeah,
obviously, the tour is coming up, so go ahead and check out the other links as well, which are in the description of this video. And go ahead, listen to them, check out their music, and if you're in UK, go ahead and watch them live because
yes.
Yeah.
live music is finally back.
It's coming back
So
again. You know, can't get rid
it's
of it.
coming back again. So
Yeah,
that's really awesome. And it has been a total pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us,
no
Matt.
problem.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. Thank you, Kanak. Thank you, Al Medina, and I
Thank
really
you.
do appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully we'll do it again at some point soon.
Yeah, we will.
Absolutely,
Sure.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you, and much love to you and your family as well.
thank you, and
And
obviously to you
everyone
as well.
watching, thank you for tuning in, and
Bye,
we'll see
everyone.
you again soon.
Yeah.
Ciao for
Ciao for now.
now. See ya. Peace.